The massive crowd gathered in the central plaza of Xeranthus roared with approval. Banners waved in the warm breeze as High Commander Vex Thrall raised his forearms for silence. The sea of blue-skinned Zarans gradually quieted, their multifaceted eyes reflecting the bright lights of the celebration. 100 years, Vex Thrall announced, his voice amplified across the capital city. 100 years since we eliminated the human threat forever. The crowd erupted again. Fireworks exploded overhead, painting the night sky with brilliant colors. Children sat on their parents' shoulders, waving small flags with the Zaran Imperium symbol. Today we celebrate not just our victory, but our safety, Vex Thrall continued. The humans were dangerous, unpredictable, a threat to galactic peace. Their warlike nature made them unfit for peaceful coexistence among the stars. The Zaran crowd nodded in agreement. Their history lessons had taught them how humans had rejected all attempts at peaceful contact, how they had attacked Zaran explorers, without reason. The destruction of Earth and its colonies had been necessary, they believed, a regrettable but required action for the greater good. May we never again face such a threat, Vex Thrall concluded. Our children and their children will live in a galaxy free from human aggression. As the celebration continued on Xeranthus, something stirred at the edge of charted space. Hidden within an artificial gravity well, a massive ship floated silently. The Endurance was not like any normal spaceship. It was a generation vessel nearly 2 miles long, built to sustain human life for centuries if necessary. Inside its command center, Captain William Carter watched the Zaran broadcast with a grim expression. His weathered face showed signs of a hard life, but his eyes remained sharp and alert. At 63, he had been born aboard this ship, as had his parents before him. They're celebrating our extinction, he said quietly. Beside him, Chief Engineer Samantha Miller nodded. Her hands moved quickly over the control panel, adjusting settings as data flowed across multiple screens. The last system check on Project A, Phoenix, is complete, she reported. The drive is operational. We're ready, Captain. William looked around the command center. 12 other officers worked at their stations, all descendants of the original survivors who had escaped Earth's destruction a century ago. None of them had ever set foot on a planet. The Endurance was the only home they had ever known. Call the Council, William ordered. It's time to decide. 3 hours later, 25 men and women gathered in the ship's council chamber. They represented all sections of the vessel and its approximately 47,000 inhabitants. Each member wore a simple uniform with a small phoenix emblem on the shoulder, a reminder of their purpose. Project Phoenix is ready, William announced to the council. After 3 generations of work, we can finally return to known space. The question is, should we? Gregory Walsh, the oldest council member at 86, spoke first. Our grandparents saved us from Earth with one mission, to ensure humanity's survival. We've done that. We have a stable population. Our hydroponics and resource systems are fully sustainable. We could continue to hide, to live. And do what? Asked Olivia. Rodriguez, the tactical officer. Drift through space forever? Watch our population slowly decline over generations until we're truly extinct? That's not survival, that's just delaying the inevitable. Gregory frowned. I'm suggesting caution. The Zarans outnumber us millions to 1. They have thousands of warships. We have one vessel. One vessel with technology they can't imagine, Samantha pointed out. Our grandparents and parents didn't just focus on survival. They pushed human innovation to its limits. Our phase shift drive, our shield systems, our weapons, they're all beyond anything the Zarans have. Frank Daniels, the commander of HFY. The ship's security forces nodded in agreement. The Zarans believe they won because they caught us unprepared. They don't realize what happens when humans have a century to focus on a single goal, justice. The debate continued for hours. Some council members worried about the risks. Others argued that they owed it to Earth's memory to return. In the end, they voted unanimously to proceed with the plan that had been developed over generations. William stood before the ship's population later that day. Their faces looked up at him from the main gathering hall, which had been designed to hold all of the Endurance's inhabitants. Many held the hands of their children. Some wore pendants containing tiny samples of Earth soil, passed down through generations. Since the day our grandparents escaped Earth's destruction, we have lived with one purpose, William began: to preserve humanity and, when ready, to return. Today, I announce that we are ready. A murmur ran through the crowd. This moment had been discussed in theory for all their lives, but now it was real. We are not seeking revenge, William continued. We seek justice. The Zarans believe they eliminated humanity. They celebrate our extinction. They do not know that we survived, that we grew stronger, that we prepared. He paused, looking at the faces before him. Our plan is not to destroy them as they tried to destroy us. We are better than that. But we will make them face what they did. We will reclaim humanity's place in the galaxy. The crowd began to applaud. Some cheered. Others remained silent, understanding the gravity of what was coming. In 3 days, we will activate the phase shift drive and return to known space, William announced. All sections should complete final preparations according to protocol. This is what we have prepared for across 3 generations. This is our purpose. As the crowd dispersed, Samantha approached William. The scout ships are ready for deployment. Once we arrive, we'll begin the first phase immediately. William nodded. The Zarans think they know humanity from our past. They think they know what we're capable of. They're about to learn how wrong they are. At that moment, on the outer edge of Zaran territory, 3 scout ships detected an unusual energy signature. The reading made no sense to the Zaran scientists on board. They had never seen anything like it before. Log it and send the data back. To Zaranthus, the lead scientist ordered. It's probably just a sensor malfunction. But it wasn't a malfunction. It was the first ripple of a wave about to crash over the Zaran Imperium, the first sign that humanity wasn't as gone as they believed. The first tremor of what was to come. Admiral Krelak stood before the large display screen, his blue skin darkening with concern. The reports from the outer territories made no sense. 3 mining outposts had gone silent in the past week. 2 research stations had lost all communication. A patrol fleet reported strange energy signatures before they too disappeared. These disturbances began near Sector 12, said his assistant, pointing at the map. They have spread inward following this pattern. Krelax studied the movement. Pattern? It was not random. It showed intelligence and purpose. It showed planning. And the transmissions, he asked. Have we decoded them? His assistant shifted uncomfortably. Our language experts believe it is human speech. Krelax turned sharply. Impossible. The humans were eliminated a century ago, every colony, every outpost. None survived. I understand, Admiral. But the audio patterns match our historical records of human language. And there is one phrase that repeats in every transmission we've captured. What phrase? We remember. On the other side of the galaxy, aboard the Endurance, Olivia Rodriguez coordinated the operations from the tactical center. Screens showed the positions of 6 small stealth vessels, each carrying a team of specially trained soldiers. These teams moved quickly and efficiently, avoiding detection as they disabled Zaran facilities one by one. Team 3 has completed their mission, reported a communications officer. The Proxima relay station is now offline. Olivia nodded. Tell Commander Daniels to proceed with the next phase. Frank Daniels and his team floated silently in their stealth suits as they approached the massive communication relay. The structure was several miles wide, a hub that connected dozens of Zaran colonies to their homeworld. His team had already disabled the minimal security systems. Plant the charges at the designated points, Frank ordered through the secure comm system. Remember, no casualties, we're not here to kill. His team moved efficiently, attaching small devices to specific parts of the relay. These weren't explosives. They were advanced EMP generators designed to disable systems without causing permanent damage. The Zarans would be able to repair everything eventually, but it would take time. All charges set, reported one of his team members. Frank moved to the final position himself. He attached a special projector to the relay's largest moon, When activated, it would burn an image into the surface and a phoenix rising from flames. The ancient Earth symbol had become humanity's calling card during this campaign. "Clear the area," Frank ordered. "Detonation in 3 minutes." As his team retreated to their vessel, Frank took one last look at the relay. The Zarans would soon understand that something impossible was happening. Humanity had returned like ghosts from the past. Back on the Endurance, William Carter reviewed the progress reports. Everything was proceeding according to plan. The stealth teams had disabled 23 key Zaran facilities. No lives had been lost on either side. The campaign of fear and confusion was working. Lisa Peterson, the ship's head psychologist, sat across from William in his office. "The psychological impact will be significant," she said. "The Zarans have lived for a century believing they eliminated us completely. That belief is part of their cultural identity now. Discovering we survived will cause collective trauma." William nodded slowly. "Is that wrong? They caused us more than trauma. They destroyed our homeworld. I'm not judging the morality," Lisa clarified. "I'm confirming that our strategy is working. The Zarans are experiencing exactly what we want them to: confusion, fear, helplessness. The same feelings our ancestors experienced." Eric Thompson, the military strategist, joined their conversation. "We should increase pressure, take out some of their military installations next, show them we could hurt them if we wanted to." "No," William said firmly. "We stick to the plan. Communication systems only. No direct attacks on their military. No casualties." "They wouldn't show us the same restraint," Eric argued. "They didn't 100 years ago. That's why we're better than them," William replied. "We have power now, but we use it with purpose and control." At that moment, Diane Collins entered the office. As the ship's historian, she carried the responsibility of preserving Earth's culture and values. "I've been thinking about the Geneva Protocols," she said. "Our ancestors created rules for warfare, lines they wouldn't cross no matter what. Are we honoring those rules?" William considered her question carefully. "We're not at war, not exactly. But yes, I believe we're honoring the spirit of those protocols. No civilians are being harmed. We're not using banned weapons. We're showing restraint." "And our end goal?" Diane asked. "Is it justice or revenge?" "Justice," William said firmly. "The 7 Zaran leaders who ordered Earth's destruction must face consequences, but we won't punish an entire species for the actions of their leaders." Meanwhile, on Zaranthus, the Zaran Scientific Council examined the phoenix symbol burned into the moon near the Proxima Relay. It was enormous, visible from space, and perfectly executed. "There's more," said a junior scientist. "Hidden in the transmission we received, it contains coordinates." "Coordinates to what?" asked the council leader. The young scientist looked up, his eyes wide with fear. "To here, to Zaranthus." Panic spread quickly through the Zaran leadership. Reports of facilities going dark had been kept from the public, but rumors were spreading. Security forces were doubled around major cities. The defense fleet was put on high alert. High Commander Vex Thrall demanded answers from his military and scientific advisors, but they had none to give. How could humans have survived? How could they have developed technology that could evade Zaran detection? How could they move through Zaran space unnoticed? "Find them," Vex Thrall ordered. "Use every resource we have. Find these human ghosts and eliminate them once and for all." But the humans didn't want to be found. Not yet. Their campaign continued systematically. Each disabled facility, each phoenix symbol, each message of "we remember" brought them closer to their final destination. Tucker, Endurance moved silently through space, its revolutionary phase shift drive making it invisible to Zaran sensors. Inside, the descendants of Earth prepared for the moment they would reveal themselves fully, the moment when the Zaran homeworld would tremble with the knowledge that humanity had returned. "We're ready for the next phase," Samantha reported to William as they observed the final preparations. "The decoy drones are programmed and ready for deployment." William nodded. "Begin countdown. In 48 hours we arrive at Zaranthus." High Commander Vex Thrall paced the emergency council chamber as reports continued to flood in from across the Imperium. The impossible was happening. After 100 years of believing they had eliminated humanity, the evidence suggested otherwise. Humans had survived, and they were making their presence known in increasingly bold ways. "How is this possible?" Vex Thrall demanded. "We destroyed their homeworld. We hunted down every colony. None should have escaped." The military leaders and scientists in the room looked at each other nervously. None wanted to be the one to suggest that the great Zaran Imperium had failed in its mission a century ago. Finally, a junior science officer named Threll spoke up. "The humans must have had hidden ships, generation vessels perhaps designed to sustain life for long periods. For a century?" asked an admiral skeptically. "Theoretically possible," Threll replied. "But what's more concerning is what they've been doing during that time." "Explain," ordered Vex Thrall. "If humans survived in isolation, their entire society would have been focused on survival and revenge." Threll brought up data on the main screen. "Look at the technology they're using now. The stealth systems that can evade our sensors. The ability to disable our facilities without a trace. This suggests a century of concentrated development. Innovation driven by desperation and purpose." The room fell silent as the implications became clear. The humans hadn't just survived, they had advanced beyond Zaran understanding. Aboard the Endurance, William Carter finalized preparations for their arrival at Zaranthus. The massive generation ship had been their home for a century, but now it was transforming into something else, a symbol of humanity's return. "All systems are ready," reported Samantha. "The phase shift drive is operating at peak efficiency. We'll reach Zaranthus in 6 hours." William nodded. "And the broadcast?" Nancy Turner, communications officer, replied. "The message is prepared. We can transmit on all Zaran frequencies as soon as we arrive." "Good." William turned to Paul Martinez, the chief of security. "What about the targets?" Paul brought up 7 profiles on the main screen. "Our intelligence is solid. These are the 7 Zaran leaders who ordered Earth's destruction. 5 are still in positions of power, including High Commander Vex Thrall. 2 have retired but remain influential." William studied the faces of the aliens who had ordered the extinction of his species. For generations, humans aboard the Endurance had prepared for this moment, the moment when justice would finally come. "We're not seeking wholesale slaughter," William reminded his officers. "We want those responsible to face justice. The Zaran people followed their leaders, just as any people would." "And if they resist?" asked Frank Daniels, who had returned from his stealth mission. "Then we demonstrate our power," William replied. "But we don't become what they were. We don't destroy worlds." As the Endurance approached Zaranthus, the Zaran, a military, mobilized on an unprecedented scale. Every available warship was called to defend the homeworld. The planetary defense system, a network of massive cannons and energy shields, was fully activated for the first time in 50 years. Admiral Krelax coordinated the defensive formation. Nearly 3,000 warships formed a protective sphere around the planet. Smaller fighters patrolled between the larger vessels. Every weapon was charged and ready. "Our long-range sensors detect nothing unusual," reported a sensor officer. "No sign of human vessels." Admiral Krelax didn't feel reassured. The humans had evaded detection for weeks while disabling facilities across Zaran space. There was no reason to believe their sensors would detect them now. "Maintain full alert," he ordered. "They're coming. I can feel it." On the Endurance, Kevin Phillips, one of the engineers, reported to William. "The drone deployment system is ready, Captain. All 2,000 decoys are programmed and standing by." The drones were a clever part of their plan. Each small unmanned vessel emitted energy, signatures identical to the Endurance. When deployed, they would create the illusion of an impossible fleet. Thousands of human ships appearing simultaneously. "Deploy on my mark," William ordered. He looked around at the command center crew. These were the descendants of Earth's survivors. None had ever set foot on a planet. They had lived their entire lives preparing for this moment. For Earth, William said quietly. For justice. The crew nodded in solemn agreement. Deploy the drones. Thousands of small crafts launched from hidden compartments on the Endurance. They scattered in all directions, each activating its signature emitter. To Zaran sensors, it would appear as if thousands of human ships had suddenly appeared from nowhere. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The Zaran fleet, detecting what seemed to be an impossibly large human armada, broke formation in confusion. Communication channels filled with panicked reports. Some ships began firing randomly, into space, hitting nothing but creating chaos. They're distracted, reported Olivia from Tactical. The phase shift drive is ready. Engage, ordered William. The Endurance's revolutionary drive activated. The massive human ship shifted partially out of normal space, becoming invisible to conventional sensors and immune to physical weapons. It slipped effortlessly through the disorganized Zaran fleet, passing between warships without being detected. Within minutes, the Endurance reached low orbit over Zaranthus. Billions of Zarans looked up to see an impossible sight, a massive, human vessel hovering above their capital city. We've arrived, Samantha confirmed. Phase shift drive disengaging, shields at maximum power. William nodded. Nancy, broadcast the message. Nancy activated the communication system. Her voice was steady as she confirmed. Broadcasting on all Zaran frequencies. Visual feed transmitting to all their public displays. Across Zaranthus, in homes and public squares, on personal devices and massive screens, the Zaran people saw the face of a human for the first time in a century. William Carter looked directly into the camera, his expression calm but resolute. People of Zaranthus, he began. 100 years ago, your leaders ordered the destruction of Earth. They tried to eliminate humanity from the galaxy. They failed. William paused, letting the words sink in. We are the descendants of Earth. We have survived, we have returned, and we demand justice. On the planet below, Vexthral watched the broadcast with growing horror. The impossible had happened. Humanity had not only survived, but had developed technology that made them untouchable. The Zaran homeworld trembled, not from physical destruction, but from the realization that everything they had believed for a century was wrong. Target that ship, Vexthral screamed at his military commanders. Use everything we have. But the commanders hesitated. Sensors showed thousands of Zaran weapons already locked onto the human vessel. None had fired. None dared to fire. Something was preventing their weapons from engaging, a defensive system unlike anything they had ever encountered. Humanity had returned. And Zaranthus trembled. Panic spread across Zaranthus like a wave. Millions of Zarans rushed out of their homes and workplaces to look up at the sky. The human ship hung there, impossibly large, a dark shape against the bright blue of their world. Many fell to their knees in fear. Others stood frozen, unable to process what they were seeing. On public screens throughout the city, William's message continued. The Endurance's systems had taken control of the Zaran broadcasting network, ensuring every citizen could hear the truth. For 100 years you have celebrated our extinction, William said. His voice was calm but firm. You were told that humans were dangerous, that we threatened the galaxy. Now, you will see the truth. The broadcast shifted to historical footage, images preserved from before Earth's destruction, peaceful human cities, children playing in parks, scientists working together. Then came the records of the Zaran attack. Enormous weapons firing on Earth from orbit, cities burning, billions dying. This is what your leaders did, William continued as the terrible images played. This is the crime they committed. And this is why we have returned. On the surface, many Zarans reacted with horror and disbelief. They had been told a different story for generations, that humans had been aggressive, that the attack had been necessary for galactic security. Now they were confronted with evidence that contradicted everything they had been taught. Protests erupted spontaneously in several cities. Crowds gathered outside government buildings demanding answers. Why had they been lied to? Why had their civilization committed this atrocity? Inside the Zaran central government complex, High Commander Vexthrall was losing control. His military advisors reported that all attempts to attack the human ship had failed. Their weapons couldn't penetrate whatever shield protected it. There must be a way, Vexthrall shouted. No defense is perfect. Sir, said Admiral Krelax cautiously, perhaps we should consider negotiation. The humans have shown remarkable restraint. They could have attacked us at any time during their campaign. Negotiation? Vexthrall hissed. With the remnants of a species we tried to exterminate? They want vengeance, not talk. Yet they haven't fired a single shot, another military leader pointed out. Their message speaks of justice, not revenge. Vexthrall's skin darkened with rage. If we cannot destroy their ship directly, then we will make it too costly for them to remain. He turned to his weapons officer. Target our own capital city. Prepare for planetary bombardment. The room fell silent with shock. Sir? The weapons officer asked, not sure he had heard correctly. You heard me, Vexthrall snapped. If we fire on our own capital, they will either have to use their defenses to protect our people or be responsible for Zaran civilian deaths. Either way, we learned something about their capabilities and their weaknesses. That would kill hundreds of thousands of our own people, Admiral Krelax objected. Unnecessary sacrifice to eliminate the human threat once and for all, Vexthrall replied coldly. Commence bombardment. But the weapons officer didn't move. Admiral Krelax stepped forward. No, we will not fire on our own people. Vexthrall turned in fury, but found himself facing several high-ranking officers, all with the same resolved expression. High Commander Vexthrall, Admiral Krelax said formally. In accordance with Zaran Military Code, Article 7, we relieve you of command for ordering actions that directly threaten the safety of Zaran civilians. Security officers moved quickly to restrain Vexthrall. He fought against them, screaming threats, but was overpowered and removed from the command center. Open a channel to the human vessel, Krelax ordered. We need to establish communication before this situation deteriorates further. Aboard the Endurance, William and his officers observed the chaos unfolding on the planet below. Their sensors detected the brief powering up of the orbital weapons platforms before they suddenly went offline. Something's happening in their command structure, Olivia reported. Their orbital weapons were activated, then deactivated. Internal communications suggest a change in leadership. Are they preparing to attack? William asked. I don't think so, Olivia replied, studying the data. It appears there was an attempt to target their own capital city, which was prevented by military commanders. This information surprised William. They were going to fire on their own people? It seems that way, Olivia confirmed, and now we're receiving a communication request from someone identifying as Admiral Krelax. William considered this unexpected development. Their plan had anticipated resistance, not internal conflict within the Zaran leadership. Put the Admiral through, he decided. The main screen showed the face of a Zaran military leader. His blue skin was darker around the eyes, a sign of stress in their species. I am Admiral Krelax of the Zaran Defense Fleet, he began. High Commander Vexthrall has been relieved of command. We request a cessation of hostilities and propose opening a dialogue. William studied the alien's face, looking for signs of deception. There have been no hostilities on our part, Admiral. We have disabled facilities, but harmed no one. A fact I have noted, Krelax replied. Which is why I believe your claim of seeking justice rather than revenge may be genuine. Before William could respond, alarms sounded throughout the Endurance. Multiple weapons locks, Olivia called out. A Zaran battle group is moving into firing position. On screen, Admiral Krelax looked equally surprised. Those are not my ships. They must be loyal to Vexthrall. The rogue Zaran vessels opened fire. Dozens of energy beams struck the Endurance's shields, lighting up the sky above Zaranthus. The ship trembled slightly, but its advanced defensive systems held. No damage, Samantha reported. Shields at 97%. William made a quick decision. Activate Defense Protocol 3. Target weapon systems only. From the Endurance, precisely aimed energy pulses fired back at the attacking vessels. Each shot disabled a weapon system without damaging the ships themselves. Within seconds, the entire attacking battle group was effectively neutralized, intact but harmless. On the surface, the Zaran population watched in awe. The human ship had defended itself with surgical precision, choosing to disable rather than destroy its attackers. Admiral Krelak stared at the screen in disbelief. "You could have destroyed them." "That's not why we're here," William replied simply. "We've had enough destruction." The Admiral was silent for a moment, then spoke with new respect in his voice. "What do you want from us?" "Justice," William answered. "The 7 who ordered Earth's destruction must face consequences for their actions, and your people must know the truth about what happened." "And if we agree to these terms?" "Then we can begin to discuss peace," William said. "Humanity doesn't seek war, Admiral. We never did." As the conversation continued, Barbara Wilson, the chief diplomat, whispered to William, "This is unexpected. We planned for resistance, not cooperation." "Plans change," William replied quietly. "We need to adapt." Down on the planet, more Zarans gathered in the streets looking up at the human ship. The fear was beginning to give way to something else: curiosity, wonder, and for many, shame at what their civilization had done. The Zaran homeworld had trembled, not from physical destruction but from the revelation of a terrible truth and the demonstration of humanity's power and restraint. The reckoning had begun. 3 months passed since the day the Endurance appeared above Zaranthus. The galaxy had changed forever in that time. The news that humans had survived spread quickly among all spacefaring civilizations. Many watched with interest to see what would happen next. Would humanity take revenge? Would there be war? Or something unexpected? On a neutral space station positioned between Zaranthus and the newly established human territory, representatives from both species gathered. The station was simple but elegant, designed specifically for these historic meetings. In the main conference room, William Carter sat across from Keshivara, the new Zaran leader who had replaced Vex Thrall. "The transfer of responsibility is complete," Keshivara stated, her voice calm and measured. "The 7 individuals who ordered the attack on Earth have been surrendered to human justice, as agreed." William nodded, his expression solemn. "They will receive fair trials with representatives from both our peoples present. Justice, not vengeance." The trials had been a central point of the negotiations. The humans insisted that those responsible for Earth's destruction face consequences, but they had worked with moderate Zaran leaders to ensure the process would be transparent and fair. It was important to both sides that this be seen as justice, not revenge. "There is another matter," Keshivara continued. "The formal acknowledgement." She activated a display screen showing a document titled "The Galactic Acknowledgement of Crimes Against Humanity." It contained an official Zaran admission of wrongdoing, an accurate historical record of what had happened, and a commitment to education reform so future generations would know the truth. "It has been approved by our full council," Keshivara confirmed. "From this day forward, Zaran children will learn the true history, not propaganda." This acknowledgement had been just as important to the humans as the trials. The survivors of Earth didn't just want punishment for a few leaders, they wanted the truth to be preserved. Barbara Wilson, the chief diplomat for humanity, entered the room with news. "The preparations on New Terra are proceeding well. The first settlement will be ready for inhabitants within 2 weeks." New Terra was the name humans had given to the habitable world granted to them as part of the reparations agreement. It wasn't Earth. Nothing could ever replace their lost homeworld. But it was a place to start anew. A planet with blue skies, clean water, and fertile soil where humanity could plant roots again after a century in space. "And the other ships?" Keshivara asked. "Have they made contact?" William smiled for the first time that day. "Yes. The Perseverance and the Defiance have emerged from hiding. They've confirmed their approach to New Terra. Humanity now numbers just over 60,000 souls." This had been another revelation that shocked the Zarans. The Endurance hadn't been the only human ship to escape Earth's destruction. 2 other generation ships had also survived, hiding in different regions of space. They too had developed in isolation, focused on the same mission, ensuring humanity's survival and eventual return. Samantha Miller entered the conference room with a young Zaran scientist. They had been working together on technology exchange, programs, another part of the peace agreement. The Zarans shared their knowledge of other spacefaring species and star charts, while humans shared some of their technological innovations. The integration of our shield technology with Zaran power systems is working, Samantha reported, and we've learned a lot about slipstream navigation from their scientists. The young Zaran scientist nodded enthusiastically. Human innovation is remarkable. Your isolation forced you to develop technologies in ways we never considered. William turned to Keshawara. There's one more item I'd like to discuss today. A formal invitation for a Zaran delegation to visit New Terra once the first settlement is established. Keshawara's eyes widened slightly, the Zaran equivalent of surprise. You would welcome us on your new homeworld, after everything that happened? Moving forward requires courage from both sides, William said. We can't change the past, but we can choose our future. Linda Mitchell, the chief botanist, had been working tirelessly to prepare New Terra for human habitation. The generation, ships carried seed banks and DNA samples from thousands of Earth species, plants and animals preserved by the original survivors. Her team was now in the process of introducing these species to their new home. The first Earth trees have been planted, she reported later that day as William toured the settlement site via video link. Oak, pine, maple, and the first crops will be ready for harvest in about 4 months. William watched the video feed showing humans working on the planet's surface. Many were experiencing gravity, wind, and open skies for the first time in their lives. Children born on the generation ship stared in wonder at birds flying overhead, birds genetically engineered from preserved DNA. It's really happening, William said quietly. After all this time, we have a home again. On Zaranthus, changes were also occurring. Protests had led to governmental reforms. The truth about Earth's destruction had forced a national reckoning. Most Zarans had genuinely believed the propaganda about humans being aggressive and dangerous. Learning the truth had shaken their society's foundations. In a small medical center in the capital city, something remarkable was happening. A Zaran, child named Thrix, suffering from a rare genetic condition, was being treated with advanced medical techniques developed by humans aboard the generation ships. The child's parents watched nervously as Dr. Jack Foster, one of the first human physicians to work on Zaranthus, administered the treatment. Your son will be fine, Jack assured them. We've performed this procedure many times. The Zaran father looked at the human doctor with gratitude. Why help us? After what our people did to yours? Jack considered the question carefully. Because that's what humans do. We build, we heal, we move forward, even when it's difficult. 2 weeks later, William stood on a hillside overlooking the first human settlement on New Terra. Homes and community buildings rose from the valley below. In orbit above them, the Endurance, home to generations of humans, was being converted into a permanent space station. Samantha joined him on the hillside. Do you think our ancestors would be proud of what we've accomplished? She asked. William watched as a group of human and Zaran scientists walked together toward the research center. I think they would be. Not because we won some great victory, but because we remained human despite everything that was taken from us. In the distance, children played, some human, some Zaran. Their laughter carried on the wind. Perhaps this is what survival really means, William said, preserving not just our lives but who we are. The sun set on New Terra, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. Humanity had endured. They had returned. And they had chosen justice over revenge, building a future rather than dwelling in the past. The Zaran homeworld had trembled not from destruction, but from the revelation of a terrible truth, and from the unexpected mercy of those they had tried to destroy.